I think I see a lot of lawbreakers up in this house.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sodercasty for Me, the podcast about film, culture, politics, and Steven Soderbergh, where we watch every film directed or whatever by American filmmaker Steven Soderbergh and explore how they speak to their moment. And this one, we almost missed it, but we got it.
Just under the wire.
Just under the wire, the freaking wire. There's somebody named Wirus in the later films. It's a terrible name.
Is that true?
Yeah, anyway, the show's hosted by two guys, and one of the guys' name is Jake Serwin.
I'm one of the guys. My name is Ian Wirus.
She's a Polish immunologist. I can say that. I'm allowed to make the joke. Isn't that... Who says... Well, Chekhov on Star Trek, he would say, like, Wessel,
Yeah,
right?
he would. Which I think...
He's supposed to be Russian?
I think so. Yeah, he's from...
It's up there. Poland,
Space
Russia.
Soviet Republic.
Well,
yeah.
in space, you don't even... What, in the future? In the 23rd century or whatever? People in Poland probably speak Russian, too. They probably know a lot of stuff.
They probably speak alien.
In Poland, no one can hear you speak.
Okay.
You know, like the classic marketing tagline.
Yep.
If you'd like to support the show, you can subscribe to our... Do we say which guys it is?
Yeah, we said which guys.
Okay,
That's how
good.
we got to some of this stuff.
Great. If you'd like to support the show, you can subscribe to our Patreon. $5 a month. You'll get a bonus episode every other week covering assorted Clint Eastwood and Steven Soderbergh ephemera. Helps us keep this feed free. Please consider supporting us at patreon.com/podcasty for me. Sort of the opposite, basically the opposite of what those scumbags in the Capitol are doing. We're just asking for, if you like this, consider supporting rather than simply taking.
I like to think we're a couple of Plutarch's heavens be. If I can be so bold.
Plutarch's heavens be. Yeah. Look, this is the biggest lie we'll ever tell on the show. At least the biggest lie I'll ever tell on the show. But it's so easy to go Mad Magazine on this thing and just make fun of the names and stuff. And the things that are, many of which are basically present in any young adult.
Yep.
Fiction. We can talk about the preponderance of silly make-em-ups in young adult fiction. I'm going to try, and this is the lie, I'm going to try not to make jokes about how everyone in this movie is named like Iris Goo Goo Dolls or whatever.
I went for a short walk basically to this end to try to steel myself to sort of say, like, this is not what this is about. I'm also going to say it's not about the shaky camera work or the fact that the average shot length is under 4 seconds in the first film.
Well, I mean, we can talk about that as mature film talker abouters.
Yeah,
we can contextualize.
I think if we can link this to greater points, I'm with you. I don't want this to be Clown Town. The people, sometimes the people are Riverdale. That's fine.
I think but I do think that the one that's coming out this year, that's like a prequel midquel thing. I think
the one that's called like Wretched of the Earth (Pan Am) or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say that someone in it is named Link This to Greater Points.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sorry. Just it's fine.
I'm so sorry.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, between this and Zelda, I'm thinking about getting over to the archery range.
Oh yeah.
You know, some of the Los Angeles parks, they got free archery. Do you know about this? You can just like go and like borrow a bow.
Be free. Oh, I got you. That is cool. Like from kind of a library type of a setup.
Yeah. Well, I think you can like pay $10 to have a guy show you what to do, or I think you can just use it for free, which is
pretty cool.
Cool. Kind of dangerous.
I think it's cool when you discover like a little pocket of danger. Yeah. Where do we just say?
Well, what's really sad is that after all of this, Katniss was trying to help people recover from their experiences in the Great War, and one of the people she was trying shot her with an arrow in the back of the head while she was walking down the range.
And before she left, her wife said, "Whatever, I have a bad feeling about this." Or what did she say?
Yeah, don't forget you're the American sniper. Yeah. She got on she lied about going on the fucking Capitol Dome to snipe looters during Hurricane Wirus. Look, I told you it was a lie.
Yeah. Katniss is good. Katniss is nice.
Katniss is She's cool. I was reading, so I looked into some of the silly names to find out, and apparently Katniss is a plant.
Okay. Like primrose, like.
Yeah, it's like it's like a root. It's like arrowroot or something, which is sort of, that makes sense why she would pick that. But then apparently one of the other names for the Suzanne Collins, the Katniss's creator, she said that she chose Katniss over some of the other common names for this plant, which included duck potato. Which that's just fun. Hey, that's just a lot of fun.
That's just good writing. That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to kill your darlings or whatever.
Anybody do this? Somebody must have done this. How many days did it take to get Katniss Everdeen out of that canal that she was wedged in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean?
That's good. Hey, when I was in high school, I tried out for the archery team, and they said, check it out. It's fatness heavy cream. No, they didn't. But I couldn't say that about a woman, so I had to say it about me.
Liz Lemoning yourself. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You were a lithe little boy in high school. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I got really into Coca-Cola, full sugar Coca-Cola, so that changed. Lids Lemon, and she opens a hat store. What about that?
No, that's not anything. All right.
So it's the Hunger Games episode, and we're talking about the Hunger Games because Steven Soderbergh, and I've been learning in the past few days as people are like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
I thought everybody knew that he did a couple days as second unit director on this film. I thought this was sort of like, the way that everybody knows that, I don't know, Harrison Ford was a carpenter or something.
I understand what you mean.
If you know about movie stuff, you might know about this.
I'm laughing because I do think it's a couple layers more obscure than that, but I just there was a ghost on 3 Men and a Baby or whatever it is. This kind of a thing.
You talking about the ghost on the young ones? The scary guy, the scary fourth roommate on the... Hey, if you want to genuinely be disturbed, go to cracked.com and read about the fourth roommate on the British sitcom The Young Ones.
I'm kind of getting freaked out just thinking about it.
It was a deliberate bit, but it was like a sitcom. If the writers of a sitcom decided to do something genuinely upsetting for fun. So check that out. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the Hunger Games, and we, of course, are joined for this series by our friend, the virtual assistant from the 2022 Steven Soderbergh film, Kimmy. It's Kimmy. Hi, Kimmy.
Hi, Kimmy.
Hello, Ian and Jake. It's me, Kimmy.
What's going on with you today, Kimmy?
In my opinion, as a deranged computer program that has basically never experienced anything at all, that's a normal way for a beard to look.
Okay.
Kimmy, we're not really doing that type of a thing. I don't know if you were.
We just said
in earlier, but
all the names are normal to me too.
Okay. Well, maybe she's being sincere. I don't know. It's sort of hard to tell with her.
And the cake decorating thing.
That one's
now I feel
more
now
difficult.
I'm doubting that. Yeah, that you're being serious about this.
None of this stands out at all to me. Kimmy, the digital assistant.
Okay.
Kimmy, is it unkind of me to say that I think of you as the podcast's Cinna?
And that just won big at the Academy Awards last night. Took home some of the hardware.
That's right. Yes. Kimmy, would you ever expose your rod on stage?
Any Kravitz will do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't say that.
Kimmy's going to expose someone's rod on stage. I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Kimmy, what do you have any opinions about the Hunger Games?
Kirby.
Oh, because he
he's eating everybody.
He's like that's a Hunger Game.
Yeah,
that's
fun. Is he hungry? I've played a couple Kirby games, and I've never really thought about why he's doing all this.
I think he usually is sort of consuming to then expel.
Assist his friends, yeah.
Well, it's sort of like it's like gum to him. Like he's getting the flavor. Kimmy, do you know
these
Kirby?
guys are gum to him.
We were roommates with benefits.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I don't know if I've ever had that particular configuration.
That mouth do all sorts of things.
Yeah,
I was
wondering. From a distance, he can grab people.
Jesus.
Kirby can make that thing DDD.
Oh, like King DDD. But okay. That's clever.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Hey, yeah, Kimmy's been working on some
Kirby
stuff.
can go all meta night long. How about that?
That's really good.
Thanks, yeah.
I like that. He's a
I think that's all the characters I know.
Star Rider? Isn't there a Star
It's the name of
Rider?
a-
Isn't that like a
yeah,
game that he
yeah,
had or
that is,
something?
yeah.
Kirby's Secret Wish or what? I don't know. They're all named stuff like that.
He likes to fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
Is he an adult?
Yeah. That's a good question.
Am I?
Oh, is that am I? Is that the
I think
question?
she wants to talk about Mission Impossible now. Well, we'll maybe next time. Can we find a way for that to be connected to what we normally talk about?
That would be great.
Kimmy, why don't you direct us into the 2 questions?
It's time for the 2 questions, our signature segment where we ask each other 2 questions.
Thank you so much, Kimmy. Ian, do you have a question you'd like to start off with?
I do have a 2 question. My question is, if you had to live in one of the neglected outermost districts of dreaded Pan Am, and you were living in a sort of time situated between like 1850 and 1920, kind of.
But the future.
Right. Which part would you kind of like?
If I had to pick a Settlers of Catan resource for... I mean, I guess that's not the most preposterous part. There are regions where with a major industry.
Yeah.
So I guess that's not
regions
absurd.
of the world. There's entire nations that rely on basically one resource.
Yeah. So I guess I would live in... I'm trying to remember the...
Senator, that wasn't the question. The question was, which part of that life would you like?
Oh, which... Wait, what do you mean? Like, which would I want to... Are you asking if I would want to be the coal miner or if I'd want to be the guy who washes the coal miner's overalls? What are you talking about?
No, I'm not asking that either. I'm saying which aspect of a sort of return homesteading lifestyle do you think you would enjoy?
Oh, okay. Which part of this would be the least painful?
Yeah.
I mean, they do seem to have a lovely time traipsing out there in the woods.
Okay.
And there's a lot of bird song. And throughout this series, I watched the whole series in the past few days.
Wow.
There's a fair amount of I'm not the fucking Rachel Zegler one.
Okay.
Although she's cool. That movie looked stupid, but I didn't watch it. She seems cool.
She seems better than some other people who walk the earth.
Yeah. Maybe she hits lizards. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
But in all of the Jennifer Lawrence mainline editions, she's often pausing by a creek or a brook or river.
Oh yeah, partially frozen at dawn. Yeah, and
they frequently remark upon the beauty of the natural world, which persists even in the face of such cruelty. So I think I would like that part, the traipsing, but I wouldn't shoot anything with a bow and arrow unless I needed to, I suppose.
Yeah, you could. No, I was going to say you could shoot them with like a suction cup, but even that would be disturbing, startling to them.
Like a little plunger on like an elk.
That is what I was imagining, but there's no reason to do that.
There's a part late in the series, I think it's in the 3rd one, maybe the 4th one, where Katniss and Gale, the Liam Hemsworth character, they like sneak off to go just do some more traipsing to get back to what they did before all of this.
Yeah.
And they come upon a big buck, and Katniss raises her bow. And this is one of many. I need to write a paper about this or something. I need to do maybe a video essay about the moment in films. I first noticed it in The Queen with Helen Mirren, but I'm sure it's happened prior to that. Of someone regarding a pretty fake-looking CGI deer as some moment of like
the sublime,
or just a decisive internal moment.
I see.
So she regards this, and I'm thinking, oh, she's realizing that like to be prey is to suffer, and this is some kind of a vegan moment or whatever. And then she says, "He's not afraid of us. He's never been hunted before." Okay. So like, I guess it's good to not be hunted, but she's not stopping. It doesn't stay her arrow. No, that she sees the living wholeness of this animal.
It's jealousy that's then converted into a desire to take this away from this creature. Say, if I can't have this, neither shall you.
But then she does go back into the army base or whatever. So, anyway, I would like to go walk around.
Okay.
Which I guess I can do now.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to
Heaven
go anywhere.
is a place on earth.
That's right.
Heavens be.
I guess I like the part where people were trying to reuse buttons and stuff. So
yeah, that's some Ian type behavior.
I like to see that.
Did you like how everyone is dressed like the Holocaust in the first movie here that we watched?
That's one of the things they're dressed like. I don't know. I don't know that we can describe that level of consistency.
Well, I think low income people of the 1940s probably looked a great deal like low income people of the 1870s for obvious reasons. No one was buying new stuff or spending a lot of time designing a new frock.
Right.
But there I think is with that combined with the neo-Roman architecture and the big banners
and the nomenclature and such.
The nomenclature and the stormtroopers and the enforced slaughter of children. It did recall certain historic events for me, and I did think they were all dressed like the Holocaust a little bit.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I think that's a choice on their part.
Yeah. Do you know how to sew a button?
I don't. Can I shout out your FPG for the last time I visited, being so nice as to repair a button on my shirt moments before we left.
A real handy mender. She's good at sewing stuff. She's just recently very professionally hemmed a pair of pants for me.
She could have played Gale.
She positively could have played Gale. She made me. This actually leads into my question.
Okay. Oh, that wasn't your question.
No, what was my question? Do you
know how to sew a button?
No.
Okay. I regret answering it.
Sometimes we're just talking. Sometimes it's. Damn, I feel like we might be in the Hunger Games ourselves. The way that the tensions are mounting, alliances are being tested. So I love to say something that sounds very vaguely like a name in the way that it makes it sound like it's a name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the other day, my famous podcast girlfriend made me laugh so hard I had to very nearly had to pull over because she suggested the existence of a guy named Biscuits and Gravy.
That's pretty good. I also like that the name that she created had son in the first name. It's just a really powerful move. Biscuits and Gravy.
Sometimes somebody's name is like Jefferson Davis or whatever,
Okay, that's not the...
Hey, look, that's a guy's name. What do you want me to do? I didn't
say
he was good or bad.
Name. You're right. No, that's true.
Well, the first one I thought it was Madison Cawthorn, but I didn't want to say that either.
Okay, all right.
That's a real Hunger Games ass sounding guy. Yep. He's also trying to do some of this Coriolanus Snow behavior. Two Gentlemen of Verona Snow.
Yeah. What else?
Tori Amos.
Okay. Yeah.
Snow.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
There's Cymbeline. What are some of the other ones that no one talks about? Merry Wives of Windsor.
That's
Snow.
what I was getting to. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough.
I mean, there isn't somebody named Titus Andronicus in this motherfucker somewhere in the later books. There's got to be a Titus Andronicus.
I would believe it because looking at the credits, there's also somebody credited as Birthday Boy. So there was just some stuff happening in the background. I think none of us were aware of.
I love that.
I can't imagine that.
Sometimes that is kind of your name, though. Like for a whole day.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like James Bond. This never happened to the other fellow. It's just somebody whose birthday was yesterday. It's a good episode.
New birthday.
So anyway, my question for you.
Oh my God.
What do you look for in a good character name? Like, what is a good character name to you? Because I'm wondering.
Ludicrous question.
Last week, maybe when this comes out, I think we watched we talked about Michael Clayton.
Okay.
Which I think is full of lots of very good character names.
That's true.
Karen Crowder, Michael Clayton, Arthur Edens. Some of these sound, they're like sort of just a little bit heightened from like what a regular name would be.
I guess the reason I think it's a ludicrous question is I suppose my feeling is that you want to adapt your names to the environment of the book. I mean, I think you and I have a shared appreciation for Thomas.
Could be what's good. Yeah, I was thinking Pynchon, obviously.
Yeah, Pynchon, as I am forced to say, despite my greatest desires.
But even he has like Oedipa Moss. I mean, I know
You're saying that's an example of a bad name?
It's a little much. It's a little Moss.
Okay. I mean...
But he kind of disowns that one anyway. But then
to pick any of Pynchon's names and say this one's a bit much.
Well, I don't know. See, I was thinking about that. I feel like we're going to be talking. I'm at least going to be talking about One Battle After Another a bit on this episode in terms of.
I was thinking about that too.
in terms of revolutionaries in film and in terms of works that seem to have suffered from the young adultification of media literacy.
Yep. The things people are looking for in the media they consume.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even in that, you've got someone like Stephen J. Lockjaw, which I feel like that's on the Looney Tunes level of that performance in that film. But then something like Perfidia Beverly Hills is like, that one bumps for me just a little bit.
I actually agree with you. Yeah. It's chosen a target that I think is also like overlapping with too much critique and too much. It's like too much of a byword already to use in a name.
Well, yeah. Why isn't her name just like Perfidia Beverly or Perfidia Hills or something? Like there's or like I feel like it's too many. It's a hat on a hat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hat on a hat. That sounds like something they would do in the Capitol. Probably. Fascinators and shit.
So far in the episode, we've done mostly the thing that we said we wouldn't do.
Well, no, I'm living in the world of the thing. I'd say they would wear that.
Yeah.
They dress
you're right.
Extravagantly.
Yeah,
it's part of the text. So you're saying that it's fundamentally you refuse to answer the question.
I just don't know how to answer the question without you giving. I mean, I think that the better question was like to say, is Perfidia Beverly Hills an example of something that fits the world?
Okay.
And I agree with you that no, it's my answer.
Great. I mean, I think I agree with you as well. Another good name though is like if it's like when there's a really big guy named Tiny or whatever. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Or like Curly from the Three Stooges because he didn't have any hair. That's cool.
That is cool.
I like that.
I've been reading this is sort of my YA. I've been reading the Aubrey Maturin series, the Master and Commander book series.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Three books in. I just finished the
Hell
third
yeah.
one. Yeah. And there's a character who I believe appears in the film named Preserved Killick, and Preserved is a really good thing
That's
to call
so
somebody.
good. I mean, I do love when you read like you read about the insane Puritans who colonized.
It's got quite a bit of that flavor.
Yeah, so the guy's name, someone's named Prudence or Temperance or Good Body is their first name or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I think we're going to get into here is that maybe to be successful as a Suzanne Collins is to be the most kindled author of all time. You do need to be possessed of a certain willingness to just absorb and regurgitate without thinking too much about what it means that you're pulling from the things you're pulling from and putting them together in the ways you are. So I think you and I have the disease where we would just get ahead of ourselves. We get stuck on, well, his name can't be Plutarch Heavensby, and we'd never write the book.
We were texting about this. This is exactly
fucking losers making $4 a month on Patreon.
Right. Yeah, I think
.com/podcaster.
Exactly. First of all, offensive to imply that what we are producing is like more well considered than Plutarch Heavensby, the stuff that comes out of our mouths on this podcast. Ridiculous.
I didn't say it was. All I said was that it wasn't successful.
You're right. I do think that the greatest children's or young adult literature is extremely thought out and is broaching themes almost with more delicacy because it has to have this consideration for its readership. But I'm with you insofar as I think the pretty good kids literature is entirely populated by people who have that ability to just say like, yeah, this is my guy. His dog is like a pumpkin at night or something. I don't know.
Hold on. No, that's a curious incident if I've ever heard one. Yeah. I can't tell with Suzanne Collins with any of these people. I can't tell where I land on the, I guess, positive jealousy to negative jealousy.
Yep.
They're like, goddamn, she did it. Wish it was me. And like, this fucking idiot. Why? How come she has better than me? So let's talk about it. This is The Hunger Games. This is a film from 2012, March 23rd, 2012, directed by Gary Ross, Mr. Pleasantville himself.
Yes, also part of the reason we're talking about this. Friend of Soderbergh. Yeah, probably, this is why Soderbergh is there behind the camera.
Yes. And it was, of course, based on the big-ass novel by Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games, released in 2008.
Yeah.
Not that long prior to this. I also learned that, like, the sales figures jumped by more than... They more than doubled in the...
Post-film?
Like the 6 months before the film came out, which is... I mean, that's always true, right?
Yeah.
But and we talked about this on our Patreon episode about Legally Blonde, the way that Reese Witherspoon has basically, she can like mint a hit by saying, I've acquired this.
Yeah.
But I was just surprised by like, how do you even know to bet on this horse? I guess there's some kind of special statistics they have, some kind of charts they got over there at Lionsgate.
I mean, this book was a sensation. I don't know if you recall this. I came into contact with this book because my oldest brother was teaching in China. I think it's like in 2010 or whatever. And all of his
Chinese chicken?
No.
Teaching in China, the Chinese chicken.
Right.
Is that okay to say?
I don't know.
Okay.
And he came back and he was like, this is what every single middle schooler in the two nations that he was aware of is reading. And we all read it at my house just sort of out of idle curiosity. And
am I misremembering that you read this again in Espanol?
No, you were not misremembering that. That's true.
Okay.
What a prodigious memory.
I thought I remembered that, and I said, I was telling Famous Podcast Girlfriend this, and I said, sort of without thinking, Los huevos del hambre, which of course means the hunger eggs.
Yeah, really good. I could see a beautiful golden egg in these books.
That's most of them, in my opinion.
Well, that's true.
Unless, you know what I really hate, though, is those snake eggs that are like soft. I mean, good for them, but like, that's not a hunger egg, is what I'm saying.
An egg, the nature of an egg is what it provokes in you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's some of the stuff.
Anthropocentric view.
Umberto Ego.
Yeah, that's
Come on, we're having fun. This is the kind of
name of the egg
material that you should be interested in once you get older than Katniss. So you read this book and then you read it again in Spanish.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just wanted to. I mean, it was. I don't think I made it to. I think I read the first and the second because the second had just come out when I was reading it. It was just sort of like, well, while I'm here. But it was just, look, here's the deal. For adults who are not checking in on young adult literature, first of all, congratulations. Very, very pleased for you.
As you were.
Yeah, continue. Exactly. I think people are not aware of how bleak the landscape is. I got to tell you, as somebody who has to choose middle school novel or like late elementary school reading material, basically anything that isn't distilled dog shit is like, you can immediately understand why it's gonna just like do gangbusters. It's
right. I mean, they were talking about this on a recent episode of YKS Premium, where they had past guest of this show, Nick Weiger, on to talk about Monsters University.
Okay.
And they were the JF, one of the hosts, was saying that the film is truly remarkable simply for not being irritating. Yeah. And the fact that you can have it on so many times without wanting to kill yourself and your whole family makes it basically like a 20 out of 10. Yeah,
this is why I sort of disagreed with you about whatever the name of the second stupid Spider-Verse film was, because I think you were rightfully, as an adult, saying, I don't care about this movie. Yeah. You were saying this film should not be garnering any kind of attention. The fact that it's appearing on people's like end of year lists is embarrassing for them and for me. And you're right about all those things, but I do think there is, just as like a parent, if you're a critic and a parent, I guess shout out to somebody like our friend Bilga, where I think your standards are just transformed by, like, as a movie, like you're saying, it's going to be on repeat in my house. Is it tolerable? Because most of it is so far from that.
I mean, does it have mostly like farts and like one of the characters is just like the minion with a wedgie or whatever?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look, I tried to read the first Hunger Games book.
Okay.
And I got, I think, 6 or 7 pages in, and I realized this is simply not what I want to be spending my time doing, but
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Love for someone in the target audience to read this book and enjoy it and then move on from there to other books. Yep. That would be great. Yeah. It's not something I should read right now at the age of, what is this? I'm on my 50. But
that's right.
Yeah. I've tried a fair, like, I've been wondering if I should watch K-pop Demon Hunters just to be part of the conversation. I did this with Frozen like 10 years ago because FPG works with children, and they were all singing Let It Go all the time, and she wanted to know what the deal was with Frozen, and I thought, that's, I'm a movie guy. This is one of the big movies, one of the big old movies, so let's watch it. And I watched it, and I had a kind of like, well, this is a lot better than it could be. I mean, a lot less bad than it could be. Yeah. And I appreciated some of the things it did that were unexpected or novel. It was not for me. Mm-hmm. I don't like the snowman guy. I don't like Josh Gad, but I understand why he has to be there. Uh-huh. I don't like the way that they look. I don't like the bobblehead thing that I don't like the designs of the characters. Yeah. But
and I think we've also we've established standards in the past of children's films that we do think are all-time films. Obviously, the boring but correct answer is to say Studio Ghibli films are
specifically the work of Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. Yeah, and Whisper the Heart.
Yeah, just some of the great films that exist, I think, in film history. Well,
I think there's an argument to be made that something like you could show Buster Keaton movies to a child and they would be entirely legible. There's an argument to be made that a lot of, I don't know, I feel like you show the 400 Blows to a 14-year-old, they're going to get it.
I think that's right.
If they have the patience, if they've been trained,
they've been prepped,
if they've been shown enough NPR or whatever. Well, it's hard to show NPR, isn't it? Getting more and more difficult. I'm seeing here that Nina Jacobson, she was the president of the Buena Vista Motion Pictures Group, and then, which is like part of Disney, and then she split off to form Color Force,
which produced these films. Mm-hmm.
She was a senior film executive at DreamWorks SKG and takes credit for the idea behind the film Ants, which I personally wouldn't do, even if it was my responsibility.
You're free
she
not
also,
to do that. Yeah.
But she's one of the people who helped to bring us M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay.
So we appreciate that because a lot of his stuff is very interesting. But she split off to do this. And also the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. I imagine this is some of the shit that you fucking hate.
My private campaign against these books.
Yeah. What are they called in Spanish?
Oh, I don't know that.
They're called like Ding Dong the Idiot or something. I saw a Spanish language copy of it in an elementary school library here. There's a funny name. I'll look it up and I don't know. We'll put it in the edit. Anyway, So Nina Jacobson is like, I'm doing this Hunger Game thing. Lionsgate, as the story goes, basically leveraged everything they had, including like the office furniture or whatever, to have enough money to get the rights because they were at the time they're now kind of a mini major. They're one of the studios that, as the old dinosaurs are crumbling, Lionsgate is one of the ones with Hunger Games, with John Wick, with Now You See Me. Some of these franchises, they have sort of clawed their way to being a major player.
And all franchises, to support what you're saying, that begin with, I think, a much lower budget than people remember. I was shocked to see that the first Hunger Games had like a $78 million budget.
And I wasn't shocked having looked at the film.
Oh,
I think it looks cheap.
No, I think it does too. I guess I just mean that in my mind, to me, it's like so clearly a post Avengers franchise.
Yes,
I mean, when we get to the end of the film, it's like, the franchising is built in, the like universe that they're interested in creating. So to have that be built on the back of a film that is not $250 million was just kind of a pleasant surprise.
I'm deeply ashamed that I failed to mention they also have the Den of Thieves franchise.
Oh wow, that
is
shameful.
One of the greats.
Yes, we love Den of Thieves.
And apparently they distributed Vincent Gallo's Buffalo 66.
Oh, okay.
So, everybody makes mistakes. I haven't seen that. Apparently it's good. He's a creep.
He's a little freaky. Yeah.
This is The Hunger Games, directed by Gary Ross, who, as we mentioned, directed Pleasantville, a pal of Steven Soderbergh's. And I guess we'll get to the part that Steven Soderbergh directed, which is, I think we know exactly which part it is. We'll get there when we get there. Okay. Like, I think he's mentioned. He was there for like 2 days.
Yeah.
The screenplay was written by Gary Ross with Suzanne Collins, the author of the book, and Billy Ray, Mr. Richard Jewell himself.
Richard Jewell.
And just also, I think, just kind of a screenwriting dragon slayer. Like,
Yeah.
you just sort of bring him in when you need him.
Right. Did Captain Phillips also. I think we've talked about all this stuff before. And the film also shot by Tom Stern, Clint Eastwood collaborator from 2006 to basically almost the present, whatever, 2006 to 2020 or something.
And it has some of that look to it. It's got some of
I
the
agree,
some of
but
the
I mean
washed
that
out.
pejoratively. I think it looks like the parts
Yeah.
and flags of our fathers that I did not like, and I believe I commented as being like kind of like cheap prestige.
It looks like Invictus a little bit.
Yeah.
I do wish that, what's that band called? The Super Duper Boys.
Yeah, Rainbow Freedom or whatever it is.
Wait,
yeah.
hold on a second. Overtone. This is called Overtone.
Okay.
That sucks.
All right.
We got to do Mrs. Eastwood and Company on the Patreon.
On
We promised
something.
that.
We did promise that. We got to combine it with something. I don't know. Or
Well, I think it's long. It's like 10 episodes.
okay.
But anyway, the
Talking
Hunger
about
Games.
it like the Nick recording 3 hours.
Yeah. Let's talk about this first film, and then I
Okay.
think, look, if you're a 38-year-old who's listening to this, and somehow in the last 12 years you've meant to watch the Hunger Games movies but haven't gotten to it, this is your warning to go watch them before we spoil what happens in this franchise that's for teenagers.
Yeah, talking about spending my time on this earth, I simply will not be going into detail about the plot summary of this film. This has got to be 30 seconds or under.
But we'll bring up the parts that we find relevant to our conversation. Basically, look, it's the far future. I think it's post-apocalyptic. The world, the nation of the United States is now called Panem, unless you're some of the members of the cast in which it's pronounced something differently. But that is, I think people do that, so that's fine.
Yep, I've also given other films that same grace of like, well, sometimes people will say a name different than other people say that name.
And Tucci's clearly got some fake chompers in there, so he's doing his best.
Yeah,
it is a highly class stratified society. You've got the capital, which is the very rich, extravagantly rich people, and then surrounding this capital are 12 districts, each of which has, as we mentioned, its own Settlers of Catan resource assigned to it, and they exist to extract and to be extracted from and to support the capital. This should be familiar to anyone who's listened to this podcast as sort of a cartoon of the real world.
Right.
Because of the Treaty of the Treason.
Brother, we gotta pick up the bit.
Okay. As a kind of like societal violence
quote the
valve,
treaty that appears in
I just wanted to say the Treaty of the Treason because it's stupid as fuck. Look,
it's bad.
As a mechanism to keep people from like doing revolution, every year there is a televised death match among children. There's a battle royale.
Yep.
There's a running man. There's a long walk.
Yep.
It's called the Hunger Games. They pick two by lottery, but the lottery also somehow involves like you can exchange food for like a worse chance at being killed in the thing.
That's actually one of the things I think is kind of like cute teenage world building. That's like, oh, okay.
Well, honestly, I kind of wish they'd gone into it more. And there's a lot of things that I feel like are elided in
I think so too.
Adaptation,
including, I'm saying this unironically, the butt market. They're a little like salvage economy. It gets like 5 seconds, and I thought this is genuinely interesting to me to see how people would live like without access to centralized production.
Mr. Fourth Rewatch of Andor over here.
Well, I want to talk about Andor. I want to talk about whether
I know you do.
Whether Andor is just this. That's make me afraid.
That's the secret third question.
But look,
so they do that. Look, they do the
you 30
fucking
seconds.
Hunger Games. There's a girl named Katniss. She's from District 12. She loves to shoot her bow and arrow. Her little sister is picked out of the raffle bucket, and she volunteers as tribute. And I was shocked to find myself moved by this thing I've seen memed a million times. She risks her life so that her little sister doesn't have to go to the death game. And she and this guy named Pina are they're the tributes. They go to the Capitol. They see the how the other half lives. Yep. She is put into the Hunger Games. A lot of the kids in there are like trained killers, but some of them are like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And she basically waits most of it out. She displays empathy. There's a big part of it also is the playing to the television audience, reality show style. We see a lot of discussion of media narratives and things like this. She manages to make an alliance with Mina. They and by the end of it, everyone else is dead, and she refuses to kill him, and instead they're going to Romeo and Juliet each other with special berries. And at the last minute, the producer of the show decides that they can both win, actually, and some of her actions we see beginning to inspire people among the lower classes to push back against the status quo.
Yeah, I was pushing you hard. You can tell people about Rue if you want to tell people about Rue.
Yeah, well, Rue is another thing that I feel like you get the sense that this is important in the book and is sort of like everything in this movie breathlessly told. But there's a little girl played by Manohla Stenberg, later of The Hate U Give fame, which is a thing where like this is smacks of young adult bullshit. Oh wait, I can't be mad at this, and I'm actually letting this go.
That's all right, move.
She's a little girl who inspires Katniss's. She's got boundless empathy. That's sort of her thing. But Katniss tries to look out for this little girl, and then when she is killed anyway by one of the like trained killer kids. This part I had to basically learn from like Reddit because it's not clear in the movie. The movie's not well articulated, but apparently it's a big deal that she like makes a grave for this.
Disagree with you. This is one of the only things that I think the film does well, or like takes the time to represent nicely. It has her picking flowers and arranging it, and then it's showing the people of District 11 from which Rue comes, sort of like not only noticing this, but taking this, like you're saying, as maybe the beginnings of something that makes them realize that these rules are manufactured and humanity can...
This, I believe, is when we get the Soderbergh sequence, which is people starting to push back, which this was apparently Ross's idea. This is not in the book. The books are all like very limited first-person Katniss,
Yes.
I believe present tense as well.
Yep.
So this was a bit of like foreshadowing of what's to come. And so I imagine one of the reasons he called in his buddy Steve was like, hey, I need to shoot a riot real quick. You can set this up and shoot it very efficiently. You're famous for doing that sort of thing. And so the kind of spontaneous uprising sequence, I believe, is what Soderbergh shot second unit. But Katniss displays an acknowledgement of Rue's humanity and the injustice of her death, and this is one of the catalysts for some of the popular uprising that we'll see later in the series. And then her life is spared because of this by Thresh, who is the other tribute from Rue's district, which is, as we see later, the black district that picks cotton. So Collins is, she's not pulling punches. She's making things pretty clear to her teenage audience in a way that I think is admirable.
Yep.
But this also, Katniss's life is spared. She's not killed by this guy who then I believe is killed by the orphan from Orphan.
It's not correct.
Orphan First Blood or whatever it's called. Pretty good. The Orphan sequel they made like 20 years later. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
First Kill, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, at the end of the film, we see, President Snow, played beautifully by Donald Sutherland, the space cowboy.
Yep.
He's seeing some chess pieces beginning to move around. He's mad at Hot Rod Beard, Wes Bentley.
Kills him, makes him kill himself, rather.
Makes him kill himself with the evil berries.
Yep.
And then, we perhaps the PR concocted romance between Katniss and Peeta is... I was actually really going back and forth. Which do you think is funnier? Me saying Peeta every time, or me just calling him Peter?
That's definitely
funnier.
Just calling
him Peter is funnier. Yeah. So between Katniss and Peter, there actually are some sparks there, and James Bond will return in the Hunger Games: Catching Fire, which is straight up pretty good. Like the Catching Fire is a pretty good blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
And I buy it, which I mean like summer movie, I didn't rent it at the store.
No, I understand what you mean.
Then I think the third and fourth ones are also pretty good, although the fourth one is disappointing in its kind of lib and maybe even libertarian conclusions about revolutionary violence.
Yeah.
But,
I'm with you on basically all those opinions. On this rewatch, I was reminded, first of all, that when I walked out of the theater, this is now basically the consensus opinion, so it's boring to repeat it. But I did feel like slightly physically ill from having watched the first movie.
It is
particularly like the beginning 20 minutes are just a straight up difficult watch between the aforementioned editing and camera work, and
it's real Born Supremacy level. Like how
I think
how
Born
shaky
Supremacy
can we
doesn't
shake?
touch. I mean, Greengrass to me is like a breeze to watch.
Paul Greengrass is the tribute from District 5. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. The only thing I'm going to say in specific praise of this also is that I think by nature of having to establish the world, even though I do think it does it way too breathlessly, and it's like you're saying, if you haven't read the book, I think some of this would be like borderline incomprehensible to you.
Breathless, and the movie made you sick?
Oh, wow.
What is this freaking Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless?
Yeah, I guess that's right.
And, souffle, that's one of the things PETA might be baking at his bakery.
That's a good point. It's a really good
Peter.
point. Look up the name of the film in French in case you don't know what the hell this guy's talking about.
It's about the souffle or whatever.
That's exactly right. You're so
sorry, you were saying
elegant.
that the film made you feel sick.
Oh, and also, but I just wanted to say that I do think the film is trying to establish sort of the emotional groundwork and the world, and in doing so, is the one that dances the closest to maybe a slightly radical political statement. I say that from an extremely qualified perspective. But I think I agree with you that from then on, the second through fourth films are people fighting against the evil empire. And so sometimes...
Well, look, I will say the third film, Mockingjay Part 1, they like Harry Potter and Twilight before them.
Yeah.
They
split the final
split
film.
the last one into two films for more money, I believe. But also seeing the breathless clip at which this film has to move to try to not upset a bunch of 13-year-olds by leaving something out.
Right.
And they still did, apparently. I understand the impulse. But like the third film, I was watching at times with like tears in my eyes because it reminded me so much of images of Gaza, and there's like warplanes bombing hospitals full of wounded people. It's like shocking how, and the spoilers, the series ends up revealing that District 13 was not destroyed and is now a kind of like heroic North Korea that has a nuclear stockpile that allows it to remain in like an uneasy détente as a hermit nation. Yep. And so there is some pretty radical stuff in there that does kind of get muddied and ends up being a sort of like meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
You're right. And I think I was maybe being too glib. I do also think it's not as crazy and embarrassing as it sounds that you are invoking Gaza to talk about Mockingjay Part 1.
People are talking about it still.
And also, I think if we're talking about humanistic portrayals of intense violence or political upheaval or injustice, there is a point for me at which you can argue about the context and whether it ultimately contributes to something actionable or morally meaningful. But at a certain point, I do think just representing the thing itself in a way that allows people to recall real events is always going to be kind of potent. Right? I recently watched, I don't know if you're familiar with this film, Innocent Voices. I watched this on a bus, but it is a Mexican film about the civil war in El Salvador in the 80s. And basically the entire crux of the film is it just follows a 11-year-old kid who is about to age into being the recruiting age for child soldiers for the right-wing government of El Salvador. And you can call that, unnuanced. You can call that lacking in subtlety. You can call that pulling on people's heartstrings in maybe a manipulative way. But at a certain point, just reminding people that there are child soldiers and also that the United States was backing the government of El Salvador at this time. Right. If you just put that on screen and you make me sit with it for a little while, part of me will say this is doing something. This is
without doing Life is Beautiful, like maudlin stuff. Yeah. There's a way that just presenting it, and we've talked about on this show before. We've argued against the inherent superiority of like nuance or there are times when being obvious is the correct move, especially first of all when you're trying to educate people who are 14. Sometimes making things a little bit simpler for someone who's learning something for the first time is the right way to go. But also a lot of times, especially when those 14-year-olds don't read anything except the Hunger Games again, you have to kind of hit people over the head with stuff. For example, this is a Haaretz opinion piece from June 6th, 2025, the headline of which is Hunger Games. Israel forces Gazans to choose between starvation and risking their lives. It's about the Gaza Humanitarian Fund, the cruelly named organization designed to basically corral starving people into like fenced-in pens where they could then be machine gunned to death by the IDF and its U.S. backers. So I don't know that we don't need to be criticizing these films. In my opinion, we don't need to be criticizing these films on the grounds that they are a little obvious because we clearly didn't learn the lesson.
Right. I agree. And including the liberal elected people who are saying, well, we don't like how the war on Iran is going, but we like the idea of this or something, right? To get just...
Right. Well, the thing about Trump needs to apologize for bombing that school full of girls. No, he needs to be dragged into the street by his hair.
Yeah. And again, to show just like one girl being killed by the machinations of a political scheme that is basically trying to maintain its own power and just saying like, this is what the human cost is. Again, you can say that it's insulting to do that in the context of something like a kind of a silly sci-fi world. And you can say, as we're going to discuss here, that it's maybe a bad sign that adults are not moving on from this level of analysis. But ultimately, I found it slightly moving to see this character laid up with flowers because of the things that I've also seen coming out of Gaza and Iran of people
mass graves,
memorializing their children or children memorializing their parents or whatever.
Yeah. And, you and I were talking about this, about our reticence to grant too much, weight, to use too much brain power in trying to analyze cultural products for children because, they're not, that amount of nuance is not put into their construction necessarily. So doing a close reading of Hop on Pop is maybe like a waste of our time. Right. But in the case of the Hunger Games, it has had very real world effects, like the silly, sometimes cringe, iconography of these books and movies has found its way into real protests, specifically in Hong Kong. Yep.
And also
the umbrella movement in
Southeast Asia, Myanmar,
and Thailand as well. The three-finger salute became a part of the student movements in Hong Kong. I mean, it makes sense that a lot of the people in the streets were probably 14 when these books came out. So like that's But also, even the title of the Vincent Bevins book, If We Burn, comes from a moment comes from specifically a protester's use of the phrase, if we burn, you burn with us, in like a post about the Hong Kong protests. But that is from the third Hunger Games movie.
I had forgotten this. What a good
And it's the
pull.
title of this Vincent Bevins book. And it's like, this is a rare moment I am like feeling slightly, someone's cutting habaneros in here. I'm feeling a little bit like verklempt thinking about the moment in the film where she says this, because where Katniss says this, because I believe they're shooting some propaganda footage of her like amidst a firebombed District 12 that looks like all of the images that you see coming out of Gaza and Lebanon and Iran. And I like want very badly for there to be like someone in special Star Wars bow and arrow armor shooting down warplanes with like a magic explosion arrow that Jeffrey Wright made for her in his laboratory,
Yeah. And look, arguably the other thing that makes it more complex for, I imagine, most of our listeners is that you are not even Katniss Everdeen. You are one of the people in the Capitol. We are the people in the Capitol who are not even in a position to be brave and stand up, you are in a position to basically just like facilitate the downfall of the place that you live.
I'm Effie Trinket.
Exactly.
I'm one of the most annoying performances ever committed to film.
That's exactly right.
I'm in the later films. I am inexplicably styled like a black woman going through chemo, and no one knows why I'm doing that or not. Why I didn't push back. Elizabeth Banks, horrifically annoying performer. Director of the execrable Charlie's Angels film with
that's right.
Kristen Stewart in it. But unfortunately, winning in Magic Mike XXL, although she's used very sparingly. So that maybe she's
that's
she
the
might.
right dose.
Speaking of habanero, maybe that's how you got to use Elizabeth Banks. Just like a dabble do. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this: my sister worked as a PA on the Oliver Stone film W as a film student.
Okay.
And she was like 18.
I don't know if I knew this.
Apparently, Elizabeth Banks, who plays Laura Bush in that. Apparently very cool.
Okay.
Hanging out with the crew.
Great to hear.
Learning people's names and stuff.
Nice.
So
happy about this.
Maybe hopefully she's just annoying.
Yep.
She also seems like she's probably like a real, I'm with her kind of.
If I had to guess, I don't have a ton of evidence for that.
I'm guessing.
So am I. But I wanted to say
anyway. We are the people in the Capitol who are like, oh, that's us.
Exactly, and also. Just to articulate what I think we haven't said out loud, but to make it specific, the obvious objection to this stuff being employed or invoked in real life struggles is that it maybe speaks to a lack of awareness of actual historical struggles, a lack of an ability to maybe try to read more into what is actually happening beyond the sort of like one-to-one mapping of this guy is President Snow. This thing is the bad guys.
Trump is Voldemort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also, along with this sort of Arrested Development's permanent adolescence, is maybe just like scary because then if the same type of like irreality or superficiality that you feel about a death in the book, right, is like are those the stakes for you in real life, right? The sort of silly like,
right.
Well, I would hate to see George Weasley die or whatever, right? Like this is like a real family that got killed, so don't say that,
right? And like both parents were PhDs,
exactly.
and like and these people experienced
and then the IDF punched their child while making them look at their bodies or whatever. This is not
for real. And then also like got somebody fired for commenting on an Instagram post about this with a sad face emoji, right. I was thinking about this and about like the odd, because there's lots of writing about post-apocalyptic trends of post-apocalyptic stories, just dystopian stories in young adult fiction. What this means about kids growing up at the beginning of a climate catastrophe. What this says about kids' visions of their own future. And I was thinking about this compared to, because that's like the next. That's maybe 5-10 years younger than you and I.
Yes,
we were Harry Potter, Pokemon. Yeah, only 90 kids will remember this.
Although to be clear, I think there's also a wave of like late 60s through to early 80s, like young adult literature. I mean, this is what Dune comes out of, and this sort of anxiety about like we're aware, maybe not specifically of climate change, but of post-industrial damage and government suppression around civil rights, et cetera, et cetera.
But I was thinking about Harry Potter and all these cultural products for children. They tend to use these life and death or world ending stakes to sort of, I think, as a kind of stand-in for the enormous feelings of children, and also the way maybe like the shock of some adult responsibilities suddenly showing up when you feel like you're still a kid. Like there's a way that
the uneven discovery process, right? Some things are, and for different kids, different things are foisted upon them, right? Whether it's like sexual abuse or having to work or divorce or whatever.
But I think that there's another aspect of that, like the Hunger Games. I think Star Wars also, some of these other post-apocalyptic kids literature that I've been reading about, where like I don't know that it's a metaphor for big feelings. It's about like the draft. It's about actual violence that children experience. The Hunger Games, I think, is a metaphor for capital and for extraction and for like war and economic precarity. It's not a metaphor for like I don't know. Suddenly I feel
Having
like
a
I'll
crush on
die
two
if
different-
if this boy doesn't look at me. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think, Suzanne Collins, from the reading that I think both you and I did on her.
She's a psychedelically stupid lady from what I can tell. I mean, it's just like
I don't know that I would use the word stupid. I would
reading these interviews. I find her answers to be so non-writerly that I'm like, she's not what I expect when you read an interview with Ursula Le Guin or whatever. She reads a lot more like
a worse comparison for her for Collins.
But it reads more like you're reading an interview with someone who really likes the Hunger Games.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more like speaking to maybe this being the right person to write some of these books, because the level of difficulty or the number of conflicting ideas that she's sort of interested in maintaining simultaneously are, I mean, again, she literally called out, I thought one of the ideas for this book came when I was watching TV and I was flipping between images of the Iraq War and reality television, right? This is like an oft repeated anecdote. And then in one of the interviews, I can't remember which one is this. This is the Vanity Fair, the New York Times, whatever. The one where she talks about just war. Is that?
Yes.
Do you know which one that is?
Yeah. There's an interview with I believe the New York Times where she's talking about the origins of the Hunger Games series, and she was working on another series. She was like 5 books into it or something. She also came from children's television. She wrote on a couple like Nickelodeon shows and stuff. Yeah,
shows that people would recognize. I think she's been in this world. Yeah, but she wrote the Underland Chronicles, the series you're talking about,
which is what all of these sound like to me.
Yeah.
But she was talking about just war theory. She comes from a military family, so I related to this. Not from a military family myself, but growing up in Northern Virginia, this is basically everyone you know. And this weird relationship that like young people end up having to the military. When you turn 13, you start going to Hot Topic and drawing anarchy symbols on your Converse or whatever. But like you still have a respect for the military because it's every adult in your life is like, that's their job. It's a weird thing. So she has this like
tension
where she talks about just war theory. She says it has evolved over thousands of years in an attempt to define what circumstances give you the moral right to wage war, and what is acceptable behavior within that war and its aftermath, the why and the how. It helps differentiate between what's considered a necessary and an unnecessary war. And it's interesting that she's like, in this, I feel like there's no world in which war is like an option. And she's also not considering it in terms of fighting against injustice to then like eradicate that and achieve peace forever or something. There's like, There's a sort of implicit in there. There's this idea that there must be war, but some of them are good and some of them are bad, as opposed to, a revolutionary struggle that would then produce a new paradigm. Yeah. And so it's fascinating that she like ends up generating this.
It is interesting. Although I think even that is I don't know that she's like denying the existence of a world without war so much as she's saying that, when we think about the conflicts of our world, the ones that have tried to improve things, how, this is like boilerplate philosophy stuff of like, how do we judge something? Yeah. Is it based on its purported values? Is it based on its utilitarian results? Is it based on the conditions from which it emerges? Right. I unfortunately did not have a chance to review this stuff, but I think it's like the Lockean versus the Hobbesian environments for revolution, like a Lockean revolution where people have access to democratic representation or something. And it's sort of like, well, you're choosing this and also you have more tools available to you. And in that case, like how righteous is this versus a Hobbesian circumstance where it's more like the Soviet revolution, where we would say like these people were in a feudal system, they had no access to representation. And in that way, like maybe we give them more leeway, or we examine their situation under a different lens of saying like it was this live as a serf, like almost literally. I guess serfdom was abolished.
Right. But. Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny that Soderbergh ends up involved with this as well, because she seems to have about as much interest in like revolutionary theory in writing this as he did in making Che.
I think that's basically true, yeah.
And yet ends up producing something that is like, I don't know exactly how you vibes, or maybe she's just being cheeky in this interview and not revealing most of what she's actually thinking about, but, ends up illustrating and pointing to a lot of things that are much more worth discussing and worth chewing on than you would expect from, from like Red Dawn or something.
Right. Right.
But then she'll say things like, bread crops up a lot in the Hunger Games. It's the main food source in the districts, as it was for many people historically. When PETA throws a starving Katniss bread in the flashback, which, by the way, we got to talk about the flashback because that is one of the worst pieces of filmmaking I've seen in a long time.
I actually might challenge this despite myself, but sorry, keep going.
Okay. He's keeping her alive long enough to work out a strategy for survival. It seemed in keeping with his character to be a baker, a life giver, but there's a dark side to bread too.
Yeah, I mean this.
When Plutarch Heavensbee references it, he's talking about panem et circenses, bread and circuses, where food and entertainment lull people into relinquishing their political power. Bread can contribute to life or death in the Hunger Games, which that's actually not that's not bread's doing. Bread just means food.
Yeah,
in that,
and this is look. I understand this is what I think you're calling stupid, and this
it could have been meat or dates or something. They had other stuff in ancient Rome.
Right. This is like the danger of people who have read like one book and kind of remember AP US history or something. Because I think in the second film they also invoke the like vomitorium Roman thing, which is a myth and didn't ever happen.
A classic just misunderstanding. It referred to the like gates from which people vomited out of the Colosseum. It would like,
and I think it didn't even regularly refer to that. That was like a single poetic description of one of those gates that was then like retroactively ascribed to the Romans at large.
Right.
But she speaks of these things of the sort of like slightly self-serious, and then she'll also say that like each of these people represents danger or something. You're like, what?
Right, exactly. And then for some reason she names the country bread.
Yeah, right. Which is,
but sometimes
you
just mentioned El Salvador.
It's true.
The name of that country is the Savior. That is true. That's a weird name for a country.
All sorts of names.
They're all weird.
Names are weird. Yeah, but I think you touched on something very early on in the episode, which I want to make sure we get to, which is whether we are even mistaken in making this the primary reading of these texts, where what we're asking is, like One Battle After Another, the sort of like, does it have to be morally instructive? How close does it hew to what we would consider to be like appropriately radical positions? And I'm not even saying that films can't be politically challenging or contribute to the advancement of political thought or something. I think on this podcast people would take it for granted that I don't believe that. But I think what we're trying to say is that even like the primary lens, or does it have to be a fixation to say whether the film is good because the people are doing good things or they come to good conclusions? Or
well, I think this series, and specifically the PETA and Gale characters, because there is the Twilight literally passes the torch like temporally to Hunger Games. The last Twilight movie comes out earlier in 2012, I think. Or maybe they overlap, but just a bit. Like they leapfrog into this. So there's a kind of, I think, tedious like love triangle thing between Katniss and PETA and Gale, the two boys from District 12, Gale being Liam Hemsworth, who's big tall guy, and then PETA and he's sort of like army, he's soldier. And PETA is the baker, and he like, we'll talk about the cake decorating. And he's also
one of the craziest parts.
He's very short. Apparently it caused some problems on set because Josh Hutcherson would come out of his trailer and there was this hawk that kept picking him up and flying away with him. And they went over budget. But Collins also talks about how to her this sort of represents Katniss is like, this is a choice for her between, I don't know, types of warfare, because Gale is a sort of Machiavellian,
like propagandist, and like
and sometimes killing some innocent people for the greater good, and PETA is much more, although there's a whole thing with like brainwashing and stuff, so it gets messy and silly, but PETA is like no, don't do that. So there's I think an attempt at an ideological choice, in addition to which cutie pie am I gonna give a big kiss?
I do think I want to give it more credit than Twilight, because it also involves like a bit of relationships aren't just a consequence of like which boy you like the most, and they may actually be like historically determined, which I think is funny.
And there's also just a choice between the type of person you want to be with, which like that's also making a story about picking who's going to be your boyfriend is a totally valid thing to write a story about. I guess that's a major part of people's lives, a lot more than like shooting an arrow at the president.
For sure, you know? For sure. I guess I just mean that not to be on its side or come to its defense too much, but it does sort of say that like you're saying that it's bringing forward some of these ideas of like who is more pleasant to be around, who reminds you of your childhood versus who's more committed to the future that you want or something. I don't know, which is not great literature, to be clear. But.
From the limited interview content with Stephanie Meyer, the author of the Twilight books that I have come into contact with, those books and movies represent such a pure, unexamined psychology. She seems to have basically no relationship between her like Mormon upbringing and this insane world of like literal.
It's like Garth Marenghi's
sexual
stuff
desire
when you hear her speak. Yeah,
it's wonderful. Like it's obviously the movies. They're like, I mean, they're beyond good and bad. They're something else, and also just like to consider that this woman is writing this, and it's like an ink blot test she doesn't know she's taking. It's fascinating, but I think to the one battle after another of it all. The reason I bring that up specifically is, first of all, it took home the hardware. Didn't it?
Took home the hardware big time.
It took home the hardware, and throughout since its release, I've seen a ton of, and maybe we should do a Patreon episode on it because lots of people have asked us to do it, and I wouldn't like have a bad time doing that. I don't know how relevant it is to our topics, but But there's been a ton of, I think, YA-brained interpretation and reaction to that film as necessarily presenting the actions and opinions of its characters as morally instructive or like depictions of proper and improper conduct, or as someone having to represent the right way and the wrong way to do things. And I think that is much more of that's in keeping with, these books that are for people whose brains are still developing about there's a good guy and a bad guy. And sometimes you learn that someone who you thought was a bad guy was actually working. He was on your side, but he had to pretend to be bad because of tactics.
Yep.
But ultimately, you are the chosen one, and you will make the right decision at all times, and you do what the good guys do, and you don't do what the bad guys do. And that's just, to me, that is not applicable to something like One Battle After Another, where that's a film that is suggesting, just as an example, I think even just today, this very day, you had people posting the clip of Bob Ferguson and in the grocery store buying his diapers.
Yep.
And Stephen J. Lockjaw coming up and saying, "You like black girls? I love them."
Right.
And that somehow indicating a position being articulated by Paul Thomas Anderson about like the right way to act or talk or thing to say, as opposed to a mixture of something funny and terrifying and challenging to the audience, to the filmmaker who's famously married to Maya Rudolph and has biracial children, and perhaps feels some ambivalence about like the life that he has produced for these kids, and maybe their relationship to their own mixed heritage, and instead of saying this guy is suggesting that shit's pretty weird and we should all think and talk about it.
Yes.
There's this impulse among audiences to try to figure out who is Voldemort and who is Harry Potter in every book.
Although
and
confusingly, and at the same time, there is a level of analysis that is just. I love this film or this book or this manga because of how it's morally gray. It's like the world. I love that it doesn't give
grim,
simple.
Dark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we would reward is just the idea that somebody would be both good and bad at the same time. Basically.
Yeah. That making that suggestion just by itself is indicative of some kind of like important,
incredible, insightful,
moral, philosophical work.
Yeah.
As opposed to for example, I think in One Battle After Another, the Perfidia Beverly Hills character, who's extremely misinterpreted and much maligned by, I think, and we'll save it for the episode, of course, but people expecting that a black woman character has to do a certain thing because of otherwise it's wrong. Yeah. This is I think a depiction of someone who is confused and has like impulses and desires and goals that are at cross purposes with one another and with those of the people close to her, and like makes decisions that she might regret or that are influenced by emotional states. And these are all like real human experiences that I think are good things to depict in a movie. But this is when you're approaching things like their young adult fiction, suddenly someone who you thought was good acting in a way that is reserved for bad people. Now all of a sudden you've made a bad movie instead of a movie about how people are complicated, you know? Yeah, I invite people, if they're exploring this world, and these are great questions to begin your journey with, go read like actual Black literature, which I would say engages with these questions at several levels much richer than this, including in if you like this type of like semi-ironic, I mean, your Percival Everetts or your Paul Beatty's or whatever, like there's lots of great... Reed. Exactly, Ishmael Reed, yep. There's things where you will discover that actually people have several black characters in the same text who are making selfish decisions and maybe even anti-black decisions, and it's not clear whether that's wrong or right or how that's happened or what you're supposed to do about it. And it's the only purpose is just to observe them as human behavior. And if you want it to be like extremely entertaining and easy to read, read some of the Easy Rollins books. Go check out Walter Mosley, Devil in a Blue Dress. Yep. Yeah. And I think part of the problem is, we get so few movies at that scale with multiple black characters in them that when you get one, there's so much pressure put on. This is the chance to make like the great character, as opposed to no one is complaining that Bob Ferguson, Ghetto Pat, the white guy, is a stoned loser, because we have lots of we also have movies of we have fucking Chariots of Fire where those guys are like heroic, or so no one is complaining doubting that this is the one chance. But by the same ticket, people, there's been a lot of, I think, appropriate praise and earned praise for the Katniss character for young girls. Archery apparently fucking exploded after this movie because it looks cool as hell. It does look really cool. I think it's good for young people to develop archery skills. I'm in favor of that. It's superficial, but there was a lot made of the fact that she, although there are two love interests that she's picking between, she's often declining to participate or make that the front of her concerns, because she says I have other stuff going on right now. Yeah, to complicate what we said about this not being worthy of adult intellectual pursuit, there's a pretty interesting conversation between Manohla Dargis and A.O. Scott in the New York Times from around this time, where Manohla Dargis is bringing up Natty Bumppo and they're talking, and Daniel Boone and stuff, and talking about the position of Katniss in like the pantheon of American folk heroes, and they're talking about how she does contain like a lot of the qualities that are traditionally reserved for boy characters, first of all, characters for boys, but also like Harry Potter and Luke Skywalker and the like. And she's a provider for her family. She cares. She's taking care of her sister, but she's also like by stepping up and stepping into harm's way. And but then she'll do things like, instead of just killing people to defend the people she loves, she develops alliances and uses her brain, and of course tracker jackers. I will say the shaky cam sucks, but the tracker jacker sequence is very well Buddy, you and I done. Totally eye to eye on this. Cool way to show somebody being like tripping from a weird wasp. There's a short list of things that in this movie I was thinking like, this is just a nice little bit of filmmaking. The tracker jacker scene where
It's got kind of like a, I don't know, like a 70s horror thing to it of like just to see
Very
somebody
much,
die,
yeah.
like be killed by nature is upsetting. I also liked the very opening of the games, like the first 20 seconds after she's released or whatever is shot like primarily in silence. It's one of the few moments.
There's really
I think,
good silence in this movie. There's good employment of silence in this film.
Yeah, and it's where the quick cuts make sense because it's sort of like she can't process what's happening, right? Like to see this kid killed, you can argue that it's maybe to maintain the PG-13 rating, whatever, as many people did, but it makes sense to say like she's just seeing these images. She doesn't have time to formulate them into a story that is legible for herself. All she is trying to do is like decide what her path will be, right? If she's going to go for the bow. And I think as a scene, it reads really clearly like the internal and external action of what's happening. It's just nice.
Yeah. I have long been ambivalent on Jennifer Lawrence. I think she can be too much. I also think a great deal of that was simply placed upon her as like a 22-year-old or something.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that is just too much attention being put on this new movie star by, people who are 65 and should know better. But I do think she is quite good in these films at appearing to think on camera, which is a difficult thing to do.
Yep.
And she can't run for shit, which I appreciate. I think she looks bad running, which is nice when there's a something human to one of these movie stars. She also really dyed her hair in this one, and then the rest of the movie she's very wigged. She's wigged up. I do have to say that a couple pieces of just atrocious filmmaking in this. The flashback, I don't even mean the shooting of the flashback. I mean that we are
the
never
employment of it. Yeah.
given any explanation for why we are seeing this, what it signifies, until literally I think the next movie they get into it. It's also like, and it's peppered in.
This is what
like it's going to, like we're going to get the reveal, right?
Right.
Like
So
that's where I agree with you. With the teddy bear in the pool or whatever.
Exactly.
Like
initially I thought, because I did not remember these movies very well, when they cut to it the first time, it's like 0.3 seconds or something. And I thought,
it's so short.
Whoa, that is the reveal of this bread moment. And I couldn't believe it. And then realizing that they were doing
it's actually the fourth. I'm remembering it's the fourth movie where he finally explains.
But even at the end of the first movie, there is an extended explanation of it. But I would say that I was pleasantly surprised to find that they were doing this thing of like slowly revealing it. But the problem is that the reveal is nothing and it doesn't amount to anything. And it's
like that he burned some bread so that it would have to be thrown out so that he could give it to her. It's a moment.
And he also says like, I wish I had walked over to give it to you instead of just tossing it to you. Like I tried to do the right thing, but I wish I could have done the right thing in the proper way or something.
Yeah, well, he was breading the hogs.
He was breading the hogs.
I mean, Ian, you like to be bred like a hog, is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Ian volunteers his tribute all over printed out photos of Smallville star Kristen Kroik.
Oh my God. You can't
I've
say
heard that about him.
You can't say something that I almost actually did, basically. That's illegal to do.
Yeah. You were so happy when the iPad came out.
Yeah.
Save on toner.
Uh-huh. Can I talk about the other thing that you mentioned that's truly made me laugh more than I could remember in probably like a couple months.
I would love
a
to.
movie.
I kept my FPG was watching with me and occasionally looking at her phone, and I kept saying, "Wait, it's coming up. There's something you need to see," and she gets to a number of different natural features that look like where this actually takes place. So I kept calling it too early.
Okay.
What were we talking about here?
I did not remember this at all, and I was stunned to see this. This is set up as like a runner because it's already totally insane when they present PETA painting his arm. This is something that's in the books that he's like a master of disguise, where he
because of cake decorating.
Because of cake decoration,
which first of all, patisserie. And bread. These are two different specialties.
That's true.
People can be good at both.
You're right.
Being good at one does not at all imply that you're good at the other.
Yes, that's true. But they show him camouflaging his arm early in the film in a way that is like photorealistic. It reminded me of, if anybody's ever seen an episode of the pretty bad Netflix reality show Glow Up, where they will do like makeup special effects stuff.
Yeah. Or like there's Face Off, I believe is what it's called on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's the older version, actually. So later in the film, this is one of those things that's like basically illegible on screen unless you've already seen the movie or read the book, where she's following like a trail of blood and somehow she knows it's PETA's blood, and it takes her to this like little brook.
Just like goes, there's like a log, and then suddenly the log has eyes. Somebody call Alexandre Aja because the log has eyes.
For me, it was like a Mighty Boosh bit or something where like this guy opens his eyes and his mouth and just looks at her for a second, and she says, she totally like stone-faced says like, PETA, are you okay or something?
Well, he's clearly like dying. He's bleeding out, but has time to do this. Has time to do this. That makes
it so funny.
This like world-class.
That's
the
what
kind
I mean.
of thing.
Yeah.
First of all, this is a skill you would only have in the capital. Like this is Dubai shit. And
specifically, the fact that he does it on his face is so funny to me.
How did he do it?
It's his.
We didn't see him pick up a fucking pallet of icing from the cornucopia,
and it
or
would
whatever.
have read. This is like we're doing, whatever. Like
we're now doing. Yeah, we're doing. How did this get made? Or whatever.
Exactly, but it could have been just cool to have him be covered in leaves and have him stand up. And I would have said like a Predator style. If somebody's running in the woods, you won't notice them if they do like a okay job putting some
ghillie suit or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So to have him do this like picture perfect thing is so funny.
I mean, while we're just saying stuff that should have been in the movie, first of all, he should have built a clay oven and thrown one of the kids in it and burned them to death like a baker. Pizza. Yeah. Second, and I know that almost all this was concocted for the film because the book is like so limited first person. I would have liked to see more kind of network style or broadcast news style like TV booth stuff. Just we get a little bit of it, but I was
sort of surprised.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, and it also, again, not to read too heavily into it, but the sort of sense that there are so many facilitators that it becomes a body of people contributing to this process that makes it unassailable, right? I think
right.
Also, their weird little propaganda video that they show with like a shirtless teen, I actually liked because the
Starship Troopers kind of stuff.
It captured the weirdness of like, this is just like so embedded that even the ridiculous things don't bump for people.
I do think the Stanley Tucci character, as much Caesar Catalina, I believe is his name, as fucking absurdly as it bumps initially, by the end of the series, they're shooting him doing these consent manufacturer interviews with a brainwashed PETA that are shot so exactly like Barbara Walters or like Anderson Cooper sit downs that it is shocking. It's so well done.
And it's one of the sequences that kind of works by turning us into the audience, because like the moment where I think it's probably his third or fourth appearance in the film, and they do like a little Barbara Walters where they have like the lights come up and his like little trumpet and drum theme comes on, and they're
disgusting.
They're tracking him from the back, and they come around to the front. It was sort of like, like this is, I could see how this would work for somebody who has been watching Caesar Fleckerman or whatever his whole life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that it invokes the draft and invokes the way that these kids are like just picked up and fed to this thresher, but the culture around, that's one of the guys. The culture around it suggests that that's not what's happening. That, may the odds be ever in your favor, as this absolute mockery, this like horrible insult, like, good luck to you, as if this isn't entirely predetermined.
I'm not saying that every mission trip is bad, but this is like voluntourism, where people from the United States go to the countries that the United States has extracted wealth from, and like specifically set up a regime to protect their extraction of wealth. And they say like, it's so crazy that the people don't even have a school here, and they build a school. And they say,
right.
Like, wow.
I mean, I work at a nonprofit that receives funding from the city council. Yeah, I'm familiar with the contradiction. But like the way that they concoct this whole well, good luck to you. We hope it all goes well for you. Like, you motherfucker, you're putting me in the fucking machine that kills kids.
And then the fact that the movie knows that enough to the first Cinna, the Lenny Kravitz character, who kind of like cuts through this and says,
and why doesn't he do more acting?
I mean, okay. Well, yeah, aside from that, I guess I just appreciated having a person who is, I think he says like, I'm sorry this happened to you or something. And
right. Yeah.
And it does, it creates like an emotional dissonance that highlights the weirdness of other people overlooking something that they're a part of. Right.
I will say the fashion bit of it feels the most misogynist to me. Like there's an element of it like, well, this is for girls. There has to be dresses, especially when the dresses, I was talking about this with FPG, like the extent to which the movie knows that the production design is of the Capitol stuff is hideous and cheap looking. Like is it supposed
it's like Catherine O'Hara Otho Beetlejuice furniture, which I think is kind of funny, kind of interesting. R.I.P. to a great one.
Yes. An all-timer, but the 2011 version of it, specifically the Z Gallery catalog from this time.
Yeah.
And the dresses they look really bad and stupid. They make the makeup that they put on Jennifer Lawrence looks bad, and it's unclear if it's supposed to be like, the Effie trinket, her and the Caesar wig is obviously ugly, but it's unclear if that's supposed to follow through on all of the Cinna stuff. And then later Cinna designs her pretty cool Star Wars armor.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that part's a little, so I'd shout out to Woody Harrelson who does yeoman's work in this. Apparently John C. Reilly was in talks. But then Gary Ross, I think basically personally begged Woody Harrelson to do it. I think John C. Reilly would be the wrong move because Harrelson brings a genuine anger to it is.
I think that's one of the interesting things about the film that I don't know if I would say is a complete success, but it is more interesting than other films of this type, which is that there are people in this film who are kind of in different movies. And you could argue that that's poor filmmaking because it's not tonally aligned. But in some ways, it does make it feel like these people are living in different realities and are sort of tuned into different elements of it. I mean, even the Effie stuff.
That's my problem with Effie is that she doesn't seem to. I don't think Banks
she's so
heightened properly.
She's one extreme, and then obviously he's not in this film that we're talking about today. But Philip Seymour Hoffman, who comes in the second film, and somehow seems like he's in a document. He's in a Battle of Algiers style.
You know that scene at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings where Sauron just waves his arm and 500 people go flying backwards dead. That's what he does.
It's breathtaking to see him come on. I forget what his first line is. If people actually had it written down, he comes in and he's talking about the president's ball or whatever and he says it's appalling. But if you abandon your moral judgment, it can be fun. And you're just like, oh my God, what is happening?
Oh boy. And you know who's playing him in the one that's coming out in November or whatever.
I just discovered this. This is Jesse Plemons, right?
Jesse Plemons, his son from The Master.
So it's a great casting choice just based on that alone. We're not going to talk about the dreaded, whatever in God's name the prequel is called. I will just say that I saw it in bits and pieces on a bus, and I could not believe how many times I woke up to be watching the same movie. It seemed impossible. And Jason Schwartzman's in it for some reason. And you just think,
Jason Schwartzman's in it. I think, he's Jason Schwartzman's in it so that he can buy more vintage drum kits or whatever, which that's fine.
Yeah.
I think Kimmy had something to say about Woody Harrelson.
Oh, she did?
He looks like Owen Wilson, incidentally the star of Woody Harrelson's 2017 live theatrical broadcast experiment Lost in London.
Oh, he does look like Owen Wilson, who is the star of Lost in London, or one of the stars of Lost in London. Do you like that movie, Kimmy?
My favorite movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. I
guess we got to do it. We threatened to do it on the Patreon, I believe 10 years ago.
The Walker. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I think that's right.
Who directed that? So, I do want to talk about Andor a little bit.
We have to.
We got to bring this into the station.
I don't know if it's clearing our name.
Michael Clayton.
Yeah. I would like to maybe acknowledge some of our guilt in this process. Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Because Andor for those who don't know, is those who haven't seen it. It is a television show set in the world of Star Wars. I'm sorry for saying that. But it is trying to I think take Disney money and Star Wars imprimatur, Star Wars budget stamp to make a long form television show about the slow process of building a revolution to a tyrannical government.
Yeah.
And all of the like mixed and complicated motivations among the people that would be involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
The messes, the moral quandaries, the moral quagmires involved, the grayness, but in a productive way, not just in a
discovering how many shades of gray there are, and also what happens when they collide with each other, and what happens.
Having someone say, "Is this shade of gray too dark?" Like having someone actually talk about it.
Or look, I'm gonna even give it a tiny bit more credit and just say show 3 different shades of gray in a single circumstance, and have none of them come out perfectly, and leave it to you to just wonder, like, well, why did they fail? Was that inherent in the position? Was that circumstantial? Whatever. Yeah.
Whereas the Hunger Games, like the later films, will have mostly kind of big Snape style or Mad Eye Moody style reveals of a guy who you thought was all the way this way is actually all the way that way. Andor famously has this monologue by the Stellan Skarsgård character about what he has had to do to his own soul in the service of a future he'll never get to see.
Yeah.
That is like, I mean, on the one hand, he's playing fucking Zoop Zop Beetlebot from Planet X. Yeah. But it is you can relate this. It's a beautifully written and performed piece of theater about, you know, what it means to be part of a political cause.
That goes a long way for me. The quality of just like the dialogue itself, the presentation, the respect the program has, I would say, for the audience in not explaining certain things. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit and attributing an intelligence that isn't necessarily there. But to me, that speaks to a work that is engaging with the audience as somebody who is creating the work with the directors and the writers themselves, and saying, like, we're all here to try to understand something, not like the second Hunger Games film, Catching Fire, where it basically says, like, look at these stormtrooper guys come in and they're beating up all the good guys.
Right. And then the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies being like, well, some of the stormtrooper guys they might actually have been like pressed into that because of circumstances, and then never examine that again. Like, that's supposed to be enough.
And both the J.J. Abrams and films and the Hunger Games also just have lines that smack of such teenage, or like adults writing for teenagers in a way that is condescending and insulting to basically everybody involved, where they'll say something like, how about if you want to be my friend, you stop trying to be my dad, or something. And you just think,
I mean, is freaking is Biscuits and Gravy here with us right now? Played by like half the cast of Euphoria and a big Megazord.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked too much about the spectatorship of it all and the reality television of it all. I mean, I think having just watched some of the America's Next Top Model documentary.
I've heard this is good. I haven't seen it.
FPG had it on the background. Okay. I mean, I came out of it. I believe I tweeted at Mayor Mamdani that we need tribunals. I mean, this is just like absolute disgusting behavior, disgusting things to do to other human beings. I think it's 100% real. This is maybe the least far-fetched part of this to me, is that this would be on television and people would tune into it with the same kind of...
That's the part that seems obvious and also seems true. I mean, look, you mentioned the Oscars several times. Javier Bardem went to the Oscars with a pin that said, what did it say? No more wars, no la guerra, or what? I don't remember what it said.
Yeah, it's the same pin he wore in 2003 when...
Yeah, and also a pin that said Free Palestine, I think.
And he said no to war and Free Palestine on stage.
And this caused, such a hullabaloo. This just, if we're talking about like the low standards of political awareness and advocacy in Hollywood, this is why it's hard for me to say like, well, this stuff is too obvious or too dumbed down because I don't know.
Also, I would like to direct everyone to an article written by a friend of the show, Veronica Phillips, called Mark of the Mr. Beast.
We must talk about this. Yeah.
Truthdig.com that she wrote on the occasion of the release of The Long Walk, which was directed by Francis Lawrence, who becomes the house director of all the Hunger Games movies. After this one, he puts the camera on a tripod, thankfully. But she wrote a great sort of history of films about endurance from The Long Walk and They Shoot Horses, Don't They? And Hands on a Hard Body and all of that, and then connecting it to Mr. Beast and I mean, I think he's already done a Hunger Games, basically, right? Hasn't he?
And not just doing Hunger Games, but as she points out, doing it in the exact sort of like frenetic, annoying style that I'm objecting to in the first film, adding in like cartoon effects and little noises and stuff. I mean, it's really like, it's for an even lower denominator than the fake thing for the lowest denominator.
And it's also targeted at children. Yeah. And so by that metric, Suzanne Collins is believed basically Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Unfortunately, look, can I scare you a little bit? It's probably like coin flip odds that the young people that I teach will go through a phase where they think, as one of my students once did, that Mr. Beast is representative enough to be the subject of their essay about responsible citizenship. And
right. This is like, but that's the thing is like, you need someone to point out that picking 100 people who need eye surgery and paying for their eye surgery and putting yourself in the thumbnail of the video about where you pay for their eye surgery, that's not doing good. That's doing something that looks like doing good. That's being Caesar Flickerman.
Exactly. That's exactly
Caesar Saladman. Yep. Do you know about Nasubi?
Nasubi? I don't know if I do.
Nasubi is it's a Japanese guy named Tomoaki Hamatsu. Nasubi means eggplant. This is the origin of the association between the Japanese eggplant emoji and the human penis.
Oh, interesting.
Nasubi is he was challenged to live alone, naked in an apartment for a Japanese reality television show in 1998 called Susunu Denpa Shonen.
Yes,
where he had to he could only have things he won in mail-in sweepstakes, and he was trapped in this apartment until he won 1,000,000 yen, which is like $8,000. Started naked, no outside communication, literally nothing. Like, and there's been enormous. I mean, there literally have been maybe close to tribunals, like extraordinary debate about the ethics of this. The like broadcasting ethics of this. There's a documentary called The Contestant in 2023. But they basically did a Hunger Games. They like tortured a guy on TV for entertainment in 1998. He's still around. He scaled Mount Everest in 2016 after 3 aborted attempts. He's found success as a comedian. So God bless him. But like, this is a real thing that happens. Same with these debates are even going on with things like The Voice of Hind Rajab, the documentary that just got like systematically snubbed at the Oscars, about what does it mean to turn human suffering into a form of entertainment, even like, I guess, entertainment designed to be morally instructive.
Right. And it almost doesn't matter whether it is feel-good entertainment, which I think is obviously one of the things that people object to about using something like Hunger Games as moral instruction, is that ultimately it is built to allow you an affirming type of escapism that makes you leave the theater saying, like, I believe in myself, or I believe in humanity, even though there is critique in it. Or the opposite. I think that when people talk about this documentary, the sense of like, are you taking somebody's story and trying to use it to maybe do something good, but ultimately instrumentalizing like a real person's experience for this purpose?
Yeah, I mean, look, to connect it all back to Soderbergh, I think when you have, even as popcorny and as oversimplified and potentially like so black and white as to be silly. When you have a media property that people are pointing to, like young people are pointing to when they see the Met Gala compared to suffering and starvation and systematic genocide. When people see the Met Gala and they're like, that's like the capital from the Hunger Games to do this at the same time as this other stuff. I think that's good. I think that's a productive piece of art, the same way that I think, Aaron Brockovich is whatever. It's a little cute, little girl power, girl boss, but it's become shorthand for like corporate wrongdoing and cover-ups of murdering a whole town full of people because it helps your bottom line, and fuck those guys, they can drink hexachromium.
Yeah.
So
I think, obviously the only other challenge I would leave is that we hope this is a stepping stone for people, because I do think it's a problem to say that any type of moral instruction is good. And even if you're talking about literature or films or whatever aimed at young people, if I can be hopeful, I would say that you want to put them on a path towards more critique, towards more questions, not towards coming to conclusions and then basically spending the rest of their lives just affirming those on like grander and grander stages, and maybe in ways that are that have fallout that they're not equipped to understand because they were never asked to understand those things. And not that we necessarily believe that art is like, this incredible force of salvation or something, but
no, I think it's downstream of politics, probably.
Right. Yes, I think that is right. But if it has a part in people's lives, this is why it is, it feels a little boring to me or it felt boring to see so many people talk about reality TV. But then, I don't know, as a starting point for being able to say, where does this fixation come from? Why do people feel so comfortable watching specifically like emotionally stunted young people? As the most of the casts of reality television are people who are demonstrating a type of engagement with each other that we wouldn't consider proper behavior.
Right, and it's now like this recursive sort of, they're acting like reality television contestants.
Exactly, and even though we say like, well, mature people understand that's part of the pleasure is that they're supposed to understand that that's not how people act, right? When this guy like yells and puts his fist through a wall or something, but maybe the question is sort of like, what are the alternatives and what are we encouraging people to do that doesn't just play into this cycle that you're talking about, right? How does this not become the primary way that people engage with each other? Or how does it not become an acceptable way? And I think you can have the shitty kind of ironic appreciation for MTV's The Challenge, for example, in my case. But I think I think that only works if you're also bringing people into contact with a type of thinking that you think is an actual model for how they should approach the world, or encouraging the types of questions. Maybe it doesn't have to be didactic.
I think that's right. And I think one of the ways you can do that is by not only listening to Podcasting For Me, but also subscribing to the Podcasting For Me Patreon, where we do even more of this sort of thing. And I haven't told you this, Ian. Ian, I have not told you this.
Whoa.
I made an executive decision to do a bit.
Okay.
A kind of just kidding unless style bit. I have introduced a new Patreon tier.
Whoa.
Now we've got the existing tier, the $5 tier. You get everything.
Classic stuff.
We have a new tier.
All right.
The Mayor of Carmel tier.
All right.
It's $500 a month.
Okay.
And if you do that, it's exactly the same as the regular tier, but on every episode, main feed and Patreon, we will say that you are the Mayor of Carmel.
I'm happy to do that.
And this is a joke unless somebody wants to do it.
It's a joke unless...
real. There's 3 spots.
Okay.
So we can have 3 mayors of Carmel.
We'll say A, you are the Mayor of Carmel. B, you are the Mayor of Carmel. C, you are the Mayor of Carmel. Like this.
Yeah. And
just so.
If we do this, we promise to live like the residents of the capital. We will be... We'll be mouthing some caviar and spitting it onto the ground.
Yes.
So that we don't swallow it.
Yep.
Because of this, we simply can't handle all that sodium.
Yeah.
Do you remember the...
That's great. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm so glad you like it. Yeah. And unless someone gets mad at us, in which case we were kidding the whole time. Do you remember the Black Mirror episode with Daniel Kaluuya?
Yeah, I do. That's the biking one? Or that's a different one?
Yeah, the biking one where he rages against the machine, and then he becomes a kind of like professional machine rager.
Yeah, he becomes an Alex Jones, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes Theo Von. Do you, Theo Von, who wasn't he on the challenge or something?
I don't know if that's true.
Didn't Theo Von come out of
maybe
reality, like a real world or something?
That's very possible.
Do you think that's still good? Because
look, I guess
Black Mirror episode.
I guess we didn't. Something we didn't get to, and no, we don't have time to, and we never will. Is complicit critique, Althusarian style, like release valve? Is this something that like,
is this itself a Hunger Game?
I was gonna say, it literally comes up in the film also when Snow says like a contained spark or whatever is like actually good because it allows people to feel hope. And I don't know. I guess to that I would say, I don't think Suzanne Collins is a psyop. I think she just wrote these books, and I guess I feel like I want to put that in the readership's court of saying like, if don't let this be the thing that releases your anger at the real institutions of the world. And if you are letting that happen, I don't want to blame the individual, but it does feel like a you problem. If you're reading this and saying like, now I feel good about the world because I think each and every one of us is a Katniss Everdeen, and I don't really have to do anything about it.
And if Jennifer Lawrence, if you're listening to this, you're famous enough, you could get in the rooms. You could get an invitation. I know you have a child. Yeah. But we all have people that we care about. Yep. And think about the future for someone else's child. Your child's probably going to be fine. But imagine the children of someone else. And imagine what you could do if you simply got into the room. Jennifer Lawrence, it's time to light the fire.
I think that's right.
And if you burn, the right people will burn with you. That's what I'm saying. That, I think, is going to be our episode on the Hunger Games. I had a good time. I didn't know if I would, but then I did.
I'll tell you, first 15 minutes of the movie, I really regretted this idea. And how much is connected to Soderbergh? Well, he shot part of the movie, so we didn't need to talk about him more than that. We talked about him the same amount that he's in the movie, kind of.
Yes, exactly. And I think it speaks to his talent as a craftsman, that he could suppress
his voice.
He could just fit into the work other people are doing. And it's one of the, honestly,
and I think it's one of the better shot sequences of the film. That's communism. Okay. That's communism is subordinating your will to the collective.
Hey, look, it's solidarity. That's really what it is. He's helping out his buddy and probably got paid a lot. And then the only reason it came out is that somebody on the crew tweeted like, "Holy shit, Steven Soderbergh's here." Yeah. So he said literally it could be fun. He said he came in to duplicate exactly what Gary and Tom Stern are doing, to mimic as closely as I can to their aesthetic. If I've done my job properly, you won't be able to tell. So, yeah. And that's what PETA does with his little paintbrush.
Insanely good point.
So fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
All right. We got one more thing we got to do. It's Popcornopolis. Cammy.
This is Popcornopolis, the segment where we ask our guest, do you like popcorn?
Look, I don't mean this as an insult. That might be one of the better points you've ever made.
It sucks so bad to know that it's true and that you aren't kidding in the slightest.
Cleanliness of its logic, not in the depth of its insight.
I have been trying a new popcorn.
Okay, cool.
Although there's a very good chance I've talked about this exact popcorn on an episode of the show before and forgot about it.
This is from pretzels.
All right, what popcorn could possibly be pretzels? Oh, I talk about a pretzel snack I'm enjoying in a sort of salty, munchy popcorn
That's the thing I'm talking
setting.
About.
No.
Yes. Okay.
But I do still like those. No, this is from Lesser Evil, which you may recognize from some of your fancier sort of organic themed grocery stores. It's got like a benevolent looking Buddha guy on the bag. And Lesser Evil has a flavor called Homer's Blend. I don't know who Homer is.
Yeah, which Homer? A new Homer, a third Homer.
Yeah, I assume it's just somebody. You know who I think it probably is the character of Homer from the OA.
Oh, that's great.
Her little friend, who's played by the guy whose name escapes me. But anyway, Homer's Blend is a garlic parmesan flavor, but crucially, it does not contain any dairy. So it is safe on my little tum.
That's great.
It is vegan, gluten-free, no high fructose corn syrup, whole grain, and non-GMO. And these are some of the things that you can see on your food packaging that make you feel like you are helping the world when in fact you are Caesar Flickerman himself. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I've been enjoying Homer's Blend popcorn from the store. Ian, is there any popcorn in your life, a new popcorn in your life or anything like that?
I don't think there's been any popcorn in my life. I guess the only thing semi-proximate to it, took a couple bus trips recently, as I've mentioned, as I'm inclined to do.
You're going to say you took a couple busts recently. I don't know why you would say you've never said anything like that before.
Yeah. Neither the phrase nor the sentiment. And one of the weird rules of being in a public space is that you shouldn't open a food with a really strong smell unless it smells good. And then on one of the rides, somebody just opened a bag of chips, and I just thought, I feel like I'm enjoying them with them. I feel like now it's kind of a collective experience.
That's sharing.
I'm rising
That's
up
beautiful.
like the Mockingjay, and we're...
I can't even get into that.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to.
They keep saying the Mockingjay like we're going to fucking know what that is. And I looked it up, and apparently it's some kind of like genetically modified bird or something. That doesn't come up at all. They just say Mockingjay like...
Look, if we're going to go back to the how did this get made thing, there's a point in the first movie where they just like make some dogs. They just like make a dog
they just
appear.
invent doggies out of the fucking ground. They're like evil doggies. Well, and then also, I don't know if you noticed this in the second one, not only do we have Pina, we also got an evil monkey.
Yeah, we do. That's a good point. And, who's next?
Who's next? Probably... Honestly, I don't know if there's a guy named Brian in this whole goddamn thing.
That's true. We got to get into
some of the crazy names.
Get into the credits. Yeah, Bryman. They probably call him
the Brian of songbirds and snakes. I don't know. Anyway, hey, come on. Thank you so much for listening to our silly little show. We hope that you got something out of this. If you liked it, or if you didn't, no matter what, remember to subscribe, rate us, write a review. It helps us on the algorithm. If you like the show, tell a friend, tell your dad, Jennifer Lawrence. You can get in the room. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Podcastyforme. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or you're interested in co-hosting a two-person Steven Soderbergh podcast, you can email us at podcastyforme@gmail.com. All of this is at podcastyforme.com and at shootingyourselfinthehead.com. Thank you to Jeremy Allison for our artwork. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Magic Mike XXL.
I think so.
It's Elizabeth. Hey, we're laughing all the way to the banks.
Yep, I was thinking about that earlier.
Thank you. And that phrase was invented by Liberace, we learned, or something?
Yep.
Anyway, if you can't wait that long, go patreon.com/podcastyforme, which costs either $5 or $500 a month. And I think the next release over there is The Boss Baby. So if you like hearing us talk about stuff for children, we'll see you in the arena, as we call it, where we record that. Bye.
Bye.